So our coverage of the Pike County Massacre trial continues, and we haven't been able to show live testimony all week because of the defendant's brother, Jake Wagner, has been on the stand and he's opted out of being broadcast. And as I mentioned, his cross-examination began yesterday, and today the courtroom's dark. But having said that, Law&Crime's very own Angenette Levy was in that courtroom earlier this week, soaking in every moment of Jake's testimony. And now we have her with us here on the program. Angenette, it's good to see you. Thanks for coming on. And actually, I'm a little selfish. I'm happy that you had the day off because you can really get into what we saw so far. You're our eyes and ears. What can you tell us about Jake's testimony?
Well, I can tell you that I've been basically writing down almost every moment of it in this notebook. I'm on notebook number 2 now, and it's been very interesting to watch, Jesse. Jake Wagner talks about carrying out these murders like I would talk to you about doing my laundry. He is very flat. He just answers questions. He said that he felt he had no other choice but to kill Hannah Mae Rhoden, and that his father told him, if you kill Hannah Mae, you have to kill her dad, Chris Sr., who was his father, Billy Wagner's best friend, supposedly. And then you have to kill her brothers, and you have to kill her uncle Kenneth, because they will know you did it, and they will come after you like, quote, a sniper on a hill. Then they decided, basically, that Hannah Hazel Gilley, Frankie Rhoden's girlfriend, fiance, she had to die too because they couldn't leave any witnesses. And they also killed Hannah Mae's mother, Dana, and her little brother, Christopher Jr., because they would have been witnesses and they would have known who did this because they wanted custody of Sophia. You were talking earlier about this. Jake Wagner said he and his family were concerned that Hannah Mae was allowing Sophia to be around men who might molest her. Those men being the boyfriends she dated after she broke up with Jake Wagner in 2015. So he said he felt he had no choice. It was interesting when he walked into the courtroom. He now has, he's always had his hair pulled back kind of in a ponytail, now wearing eyeglasses. That's a new addition. Obviously, you know, security concerns. He's got, he's shackled at the feet and shackled, you know, here handcuffed to that, you know, big leather belt around his waist. And he walked in and he looked squarely directly at his brother. And I was sitting behind George Wagner IV, and it was difficult for me to see. And it appeared they may have made eye contact for a moment. But George, for the most part, did not look at his brother. Also, I didn't personally see this, but 3 other news people confirmed to me that during a sidebar, Jake mouthed to the Rhoden family, "I'm sorry," as he was sitting at the witness stand.
I really don't think that weighs too much with them. But having said that, how much of his testimony tied George to this, whether it was the planning before, the execution, and then what they did after by trying to cover everything up?
You know, it's interesting because, you know how questions are asked in court. The special prosecutor, Angie Canepa, basically asked him, you know, is there, you know, she started out by saying, you know, you love your brother. Yes, he loves his brother very much. Do you wish he could go home? And he said, yes, I wish he could go home. And the way she was asking him questions was, you know, kind of like, well, who went with you? My brother and my dad, you know, that night. Who helped you dig a hole to bury the murder weapons? My brother. Everything, you know, he answered these questions, my brother. But it was interesting because on cross-examination, John Patrick Parker, one of George's attorneys, asked him point blank, didn't you tell the prosecutors in your proffer that George and your mother basically told you you shouldn't do this, that you needed, they tried to talk you out of this? George specifically told you this was not a good idea and not to trust dad and things of this nature. So it was interesting because they are going through his proffer, which apparently is 11 or 12 hours long and went on over 2 to 3 days. And they're going through it and kind of taking information that apparently Jake told prosecutors there and trying to compare it to what he is saying in court. So he said his brother didn't shoot anyone. And an interesting thing that happened yesterday during the cross-examination was that John Patrick Parker said, so you're saying you pleaded guilty to killing 8 people. You shot basically mothers laying in their beds with their babies. and you shot them and you pleaded guilty and you got the death penalty taken off the table, but you're saying your brother, George, didn't shoot anyone and he's facing the death penalty. And he said yes. And John Patrick Parker asked him, you realize you got the best plea bargain in the history of plea bargains. That drew a very strong objection from Andy Wilson, the special prosecutor, who, objection, it was very forceful. And Angie Canepa, the other special prosecutor, apparently said something like, Jesus, false statement or something. So, yeah, it's been interesting to watch, I can tell you that. But he just flatly kind of tells the story of shooting these people in the head. It's, I know it's been 6.5 years and he's probably been prepped and he's thought about this, but he talks about this in a very cold manner. There's really no emotion there.
That's scary. What has he said about Angela Wagner? Because, we are anticipating her testimony to come up. She's going to be another critical witness for the prosecution, and her testimony better match up with Jake's. Otherwise, there is a serious problem there. What did he say about Angela?
Well, he said his mother, Angela, was an angel. And in cross-examination, it came out that he told prosecutors that his mother only lied for him to protect him, lied to investigators. And he said that she stayed home the night of the murders, and we anticipate that Angela will echo that sentiment, that she stayed home with the children, George's son, Bullvine, and Sophia, Jake and Hannah Mae's daughter. But it sounds like she ordered some of the items that were used to carry out these homicides. So we were told during Angela's guilty plea back in September of last year that her proffer matched up with Jake's, but Angela Wagner wasn't there the night of the homicides. And Jake said they never discussed the murders. He said that Billy and Angela both said to him, if you need to talk, we're here for you, basically. And he said, nope, I'm bottling it up. I've got it. I'll take care of it. And they never discussed the actual murders. He said that his father, at one point, was very frustrated with him because of what he felt he was forced to do to protect Sophia. And he said that Billy said to him, do you have any regrets about what happened? And Jake said he didn't have any regrets, but he said that was a lie. And he was concerned that if he said he did regret it, that Billy might kill himself, take his own life. So it's been, there's been some strange kind of things coming out of this where, he basically said he tried to erase all of this from his memory too. So it's been interesting to listen to him coldly describe this, but then discuss how he tried to erase this from his memory and that he felt immense guilt afterwards.
The defense could jump on that. You erase this from your memory, but you seem to remember all these details. Did someone help you with these details? I mean, something like that. Look, tell me, Angenette, is he planning to testify?
They seized on that.
Did they?
They seized on that yesterday at the end of the day. He did say that. He said, I tried to erase, I don't remember any of the gruesome stuff from the crime scenes. And John Patrick Parker said, well, isn't that convenient? And he basically implied that Jake could be providing some of these details from, the evidence that his attorneys provided to him. One other note, his attorneys, George Wagner's attorneys, have subpoenaed Jake Wagner's attorneys and all of their notes about their, dealings with Jake. And they want them to show up at court with all of their notes about their interactions with Jake, which I don't know how that's possible because it's attorney-client privilege, but I guess they're, they're throwing everything at this that they can.
Well, there's always an A for effort. I do want to ask you, do we expect more of his testimony during the course of this trial? And do we expect him to testify? I'm talking about Jake. Do we expect him to testify in the father's trial?
Well, we do, if Billy goes to trial. I mean, nobody knows if Billy's actually going to go to trial after this or if he will plead out. Part of Jake's deal is that he has to testify truthfully, fully, accurately, the whole 9 yards against any of the family members who go to trial. And he is expected to do that. And also his cross-examination is going to continue tomorrow because we really didn't get into a lot of stuff on cross yesterday. The cross started pretty late in the day because things were delayed over that hearing that was held yesterday. And just one other note on that, Judge Deering determined that after this hearing had been held, and he said, well, we'll take this on a case-by-case basis about the opting out. Then the appellate court sent down another judgment saying there's no hearing necessary when witnesses opt out. When they opt out, and that's it. However, there is a real question here, because many people will tell you in the legal world that this rule that allows witnesses to opt out was never intended for people who confess to murder. That's not who this is for. So it's been a whole thing about this, co-defendants who've confessed to murdering 8 people in cold blood in Ohio's biggest ever murder investigation, being able to say, I don't want to be broadcast. When Jake's guilty plea and Angela's guilty plea, both of those things were broadcast live on the internet, and they remain there to be watched to this day. So there are a lot of contradictions here.